This programme is proudly sponsored by BYD, the #1 electric vehicle in the world and the fastest growing brand in the UK car market. BYD and Super League Raw, building our dreams together. And the home of Super League Raw, the Bluebell in Warrington. Make this your pre- and post-game destination for the best food and drink in town. So good evening and welcome to Super League Raw Weekly. We hope you're well out there, but we do start on a very somber note indeed. It was announced, of course, this week that Scott Durow sadly passed away after a brave battle with cancer. A great Super League player, incredible for the Catalan Dragons during his 5 years at the Stade Gilbert Brutus. Super League Raw would like to extend our condolences also, as the whole Rugby League community have, to Scott, his family, of course, his friends, and of course, former colleagues at this very, very sad time. A real quality player in the Super League era. Absolute tragic news to start this week's show. Let's bring the boys in on this one. Boys, it's fair to say, Greg, in those early days of Catalan, probably changed Catalans to a degree. Before the likes of Scott came along at the Dragons, they were nowhere really, but there was a period there, 2011, 2012, where he ignited the Catalan Dragons and took Super League by storm.
Yeah, and I think more importantly, I think he opened the door for more players from down under to think that Catalan was a team that could be somewhere where he could ply the trade as well. I always remember the nerves of steel, that famous game at St Helens where they were dead and buried, and Catalans came back and he took that kick, the last kick of the game, to win it. A fantastic game, and to show nerves like that was the measure of the man. Very skillful player. And yeah, you're right. He did turn around the fortunes for the Catalan Dragons in the early days of the club. So, yeah, condolences to his family and his friends from me.
Yeah, no age, 39 years of age. And, as a, Steph, you appreciate a good rugby league player when you saw one. Very quick, evasive, quality halfback in his time. And like I say, that period of 2011, 2012, look, for those people who don't know Scott, the younger ones, because of course, Super League Raw Weekly, we have a very broad spectrum of people who watch us. For those young kids out there, go on YouTube, go and find some videos on this player, an absolutely quality player. And in 2011 and 2012, we went back-to-back in Dream Team, Steph, and that tells you a lot about how good a player this guy was.
Yeah, exceptional. I was going to say the same thing as Reggie in terms of that memorable game at St Helens I'd forgot all about that until Super League posted it today. Yeah, what nerves of steel, but yeah, exceptional halfback. Remind me a lot of Lockie Lamb actually. I think Lockie plays a lot like him. For people who've never seen him play, that was his kind of style. Brilliant passer of the ball as well. He must have been up there with assists in those seasons he was at Catalan. But yeah, 39-year-old. It's tragic, and obviously a young family he leaves behind as well. So, like Reggie said, thoughts and prayers with his family, and condolences from all at Super League Raw.
Yeah, and also, we mentioned the Catalan Dragons. So I think actually, I don't know if you saw it, did a wonderful video tribute to him this week. And again, if you haven't seen that, go on their socials. It's only about 2 minutes long, but it's done very, very well. We also have to extend as well to Newcastle. Of course, he played for Newcastle in the NRL before going to the Catalan Dragons, and I know they too have posted quite a lot on Scott over the last couple of days. And as we do here at Super League Raw, the gladiators of our sport are there to be celebrated, and we celebrate every single one of them. Tragic, absolutely tragic news, but leaves memories behind from Dragons fans will remember all the lives. He is one of those type of players, Greg, that on the terraces he will come up in conversation, granddad to son to grandson, etc. He is a player that people will remember and talk about.
He is. He was an exciting player, as you said. He can open defences up with the deftest of passes. It's not easy to say, but yeah, he's one of those. He's one of those players that no matter which team he played for, you went along and you watched what he did. If he was playing for the opposition, he was one of those players. There's a few players around like that today that you keep your eye on. You're afraid of what he can do, but you still appreciate the skill he's got. And such sad news, really.
Yeah, and finally, Steph, Greg says there, he could find a pass, but also he could find a good line and very good support play, but a proper halfback like that. He was always on the shoulder when it mattered, but he could also break a line. Quite a few clean breaks in his career. He could spot a gap, couldn't he?
He could. He was definitely one of the running halfback mould. Like I've already mentioned, Lockie Lamb, Brodie Croft is another one I'd probably compare him to. So there's some players that are really special that come into our game, and I think he would, although he wouldn't be the top of the list, he'd be right up there, I think, with some of the best players that have come over from Australia.
Yeah, I'd agree. Absolutely. Hopefully that's been a fitting tribute. And like I say, our deepest condolences to anybody who knew Scott. Like I say, he will continue to be remembered, especially at Newcastle and Catalan's Dragons. Right, as you can see there, the bar is open, Super Chat is open. And, we're going to just mix it up a little bit. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to have a Super Chats prize tonight. That's what we're going to have. We're going to have a Super Chats prize. A local author, Rob Watson, here it is, has come to my attention. He's wrote a really interesting book. He's actually signed this one as well for me, and it's called Fighting for Survival. Rugby League has been in existential crisis since 1895. Just how it has survived so long and what must we do to keep it alive and thriving. Using the 2025 season as a backdrop, this compelling book looks at Rugby League's past, present and future to see how it could finally flourish in the UK and escape its perennial survival struggle. Very interesting book. It's got some very interesting things in here in terms of Rob's view. Clearly a very passionate Rugby League fan as well. So we're going to give a copy of that away for any Super Chat tonight. And to enter, it can be just a quid. Summer holidays are here. This retails at £11.65. As always, with anything like this, we will support grassroots Rugby League. But yeah, for anybody tonight who does Super Chats, there will be a random draw, and up for grabs is Fighting for Survival. Not that you do that anyway, because you support us. I know you support us, but I just thought, give a little bit back. Give a little bit back. Why not have a little gift for someone? A little prize. Why not? Marvellous stuff. Why not indeed? Right, not here tonight, but it'd be wrong of us not to celebrate the giant Yorkshire pudding. That's right. Mr. Scholes at the weekend doing his first strongman in many, many years, and boy, didn't the boy do well. Great effort. If you haven't watched it, if you go on YouTube, put in Summer Smash strongman competition, you will see Joel pick things up that I could only dream of picking up. I mean, unbelievable strength, this boy. It's great to have him on our side. There's no doubt about it. It's like having a walking bouncer with you everywhere you go with Mr. Scholes. But he did very, very well. I don't know if you managed to pick up the highlights, boys, but let me tell you, the lad shone. First time in a long time, and even the commentary team were hailing the Scholes, Mr. Nixon.
Well, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. But I tell you what, like you say, I'm glad he's on my side.
100%.
But to do as well as he did first time back is commendable, to say the least. So well done, Joel. Keep it going.
Yeah, he was incredible. Steph, I don't know if you've seen the highlights yet, but honest to God, some of the stuff he was picking up. I mean, wow. I mean, I struggle to pick up a can of beans off the floor. This boy, he's hardcore. I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see where he goes from here because we know he's been out of the game for a while now, and to do as well as he did in his first event in a long time, we're very proud of him, and yeah, we're definitely glad he's on our side. But he's a gentle giant, he's Joel. Top bloke, and like I say, a few more bits of training, we might even see a number one round his neck.
Well, who knows? Like I say, he gives a great cuddle, doesn't miss the scores. And once he's embraced you, you're not getting out of that hold until he's ready to let you go. That's for certain. But no, well done, Joel. Sorry you can't be with us tonight. But again, family comes first. We wish Joel and everybody very good evening and all the best, as we always do. Let's take a look at who we've got in the chat. Paul Boardman's with us. Rebecca Frey, as always, is in there. Greg Rallantine. Oh, George Rallantine. Outstanding. George is with us. Good to see him. As is Mr. Hutchinson. We saw him at the weekend. In great form was Gary. His lad knew more about Warrington Rugby League in the Bluebell than he did Hull KR, which was quite funny. He could actually win a pint when it was Warrington's questions, but only got half a pint on the KR one. It was quite humorous, I have to say. But good to have them in the Bluebell. And Aid Hodgson, yeah, I'll put this one on the screen. Aid, you're spot on. Big up to the Castle medical team for assisting with Danny Levi's injury at the weekend. Absolutely, I'm sure we'll talk about that as well as we go through the action at the weekend. Keep it all coming. And Nige Bennett straight in to the bar. Missed last week. He's already in. He's already in for the book, but he doesn't do that. He does it for the love. He's already gone there. Doubles all around this evening. If it's okay with you, Nige, I'm going to have a nice Cabernet Sauvignon with you this evening here on Super League Raw. The Peretti's alive and well there with Steph. And I don't... What's that, Reggie? What have you got?
Water.
Outstanding. Good to see that you're on the wagon, sir. Long may that continue. Well, until the weekend at the very least. Craig Forth as well. He wants some holiday entertainment. Get yourself to the bar. Wires win over KR and Leeds survival against FC. He's asking us to celebrate that. I'm sure we will as the night goes on. Yes, all good. We'll keep going through the chat, but let's, as always here at Super League Raw, the running order can change from time to time, and we're going to go straight in with Team of the Week. And even though the kids have broken up from school, I thought we'd do a school theme this week. For those people who don't know what we do, we just try and make it a bit fun. Yes, it's a serious Team of the Week, but we just try and make it a bit fun here on Super League Raw. So let's go back to school. Here's Team of the Week. The Super League Raw Team of the Week is proudly sponsored by the Pentagon Motor Group. Visit their website today to find the make and model that you desire at the right price. It's the Super League Raw Team of the Week for round number 19. Here we go again at 1. It's St Helens Jack Wellesby who finally handed in the assignment we've all been waiting for, producing his best performance of the season and leading the youngsters like the head boy on school photo day. When the kids return in history, they'll be studying this display as the moment Wellesby reminded everyone exactly why he's one of Super League's best fullbacks on his day. At 2 is Wigan Warriors Zach Eckersley, whose maths homework was simple. 1 + 1 + 1 equals a hat-trick, and the Huddersfield Giants couldn't find the answer. He solved the Giants' defensive equation quicker than a calculator in a GCSE exam. At 3 is David Armstrong of the Lee Leopards. Armstrong looks back to his brilliant best, and his geography was spot on because he knew exactly where every gap on the pitch was located. Opposition defenders needed Google Maps just to figure out where he disappeared to. At 4 is Wigan Warriors Adam Kieran, who fancied a science lesson, proving every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every time Wigan needed points, he delivered them one way or another. He had a hand in half of Wigan's total points on the day, which is basically carrying the group project without telling the teacher. At 5, on debut, is Jack Campbell of St Helens, who clearly skipped the nerves lesson on his first day because what a debut this one was. 2 sensational tries and 2 try-saving tackles to match. In drama, they teach you how to make an entrance, but this lad might have just written the textbook. At 6 is Lee Leopards Adam Cook, who continues to conduct Lee like the music teacher waving a baton, keeping everyone in perfect rhythm. Is he coming good? Well, judging by this performance, he's definitely passing with distinction. At 7 is Leon Hayes of the Warrington Wolves, who gave a masterclass in computing, rebooting everyone's memory about the talent he's always possessed with a performance full of vision, composure and skill. Everyone who'd forgotten what he could do has just had their software updated. At 8 is Wigan Warriors Luke Thompson, who makes back-to-back Team of the Weeks after another masterclass in leading from the front. In physics, he'd be the definition of force because every collision seemed to involve him winning it. At 9 is Warrington Wolves' Danny Walker, who went head-to-head with England rival Jez Litton and made sure Brian McDermott would have been taking plenty of notes. This was citizenship at its finest, putting your hand up and saying, "Sir, I'll take the England shirt." At 10 is Wakefield Trinity's Kai Fiatilli, who also goes back-to-back like Thompson after bringing his trademark impact off the bench once again. In chemistry, he beat adrenaline itself because every time he entered the experiment, Trinity suddenly came to life. At 11 is St Helens Curtis Sivinen, who was exceptional from start to finish, leading by example and asking the question, where has this performance been hiding? It was like finding an A-star exam paper stuffed at the bottom of your school bag all year. At 12 is James McDonald of the Leeds Rhinos. Even in defeat, McDonald delivered an individual performance worthy of top marks with a superb try and brilliant assist for Croft. In art, it's all about creating masterpieces, and those moments belong in a gallery. And at 13 is Warrington Wolves' Ben Curry, who just edges out Cade Ellis after producing a captain's performance that inspired Warrington from the first whistle. His silky soft pass to Sipley before Danny Walker's try was pure design technology, crafted with absolute precision. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Team of the Week for round number 19. So there we go, the Super League Raw Team of the Week for round number 19. And actually, Greg, what surprised me when I really looked at it was Casford Tigers. You know, no Casford Tigers in there, which many people will think, wow, how do no Casford Tigers players get in there? But in individual positions this week, there were better players around the league who shone a little bit better. But as a team performance goes, Casford Tigers, without doubt, Team of the Week, I would say. An incredible performance against the Leeds Rhinos.
Now, I've just made a note here, Dave. No Casford Tigers players. What a performance. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, but what a performance, second half performance that was from the Tigers. But please see David Armstrong in there. I thought he ran some exceptional lines at the weekend. His first try was a great try. The young kid Campbell did really, really well, played above his years. And as a Warrington fan, I've got to say, well done, Leon Hayes. He's taken a lot of flack over the last few weeks. And I thought his performance on Saturday was outstanding. His defence was phenomenal. And yet, Curtis Sirenen rolling back the years. Ben Curry, like you say, that pass for the breakthrough by Sipley was superb. And Fiatilli just gets better every week, doesn't he? He just goes from strength to strength, Fiatilli. So, yeah, again, surprised there's no Cass in there, but I trust your judgment, Dave, explicitly.
It must be like being a pigeon for Steph, you know, just getting the crumbs that are left. But anyway, that's by the by. but I have to say, you know, Curry. I mean, it was almost, he wasn't passing a rugby ball to Sipley. It was a sponge. It was that soft. It was a beautiful pass. I said it in comms. Absolute wonderful pass from Curry. Steph, your views, mate. Team of the week before we get into the round that was.
Yeah, well, while we're talking about Curry, I thought he was exceptional again. I think he's been exceptional all season. For me, right up there with Man of Steel contenders and probably the best 13 in the comp at the moment. Only just, but I think he is the one that's been the most consistent this year. James McDonald was outstanding again from Leeds, showed some of the form from last year. For me, really real quality from McDonald. And Adam Kieran as well. I'm probably shocked he's not in the conversation for Man of Steel. I don't think he was in the 10, but again, another player that's been so consistent this year for Wigan, and you know, goal kicking as well. I thought he was exceptional again at the weekend, and Jack Campbell, what a debut for that lad! And I think he reminded me of when Whitby had his first interview at St Helens. They're obviously doing something right with these lads in terms of media training, because his interview afterwards reminded me very much of Whitby's as well. You know, so humble, and you know, it just made you feel good listening to him because you could tell how much it meant to him. And fair play to the lad for taking his opportunity. And it wasn't just his tries, his defensive effort as well against, you know, established Super League players. Those two try savers they did were phenomenal. So I don't even think it's a young lad on debut kind of gimme Team of the Week. I think he's thoroughly earned it. He was exceptional, and they were absolutely right to give him man of the match as well in that game.
It weren't his tries, it was his try saving as well. I mean, it was a real accomplished performance on the wing, a real. I mean, let's stick with this. You know, we'll move and shake. I think it's right and appropriate. I thought that was one of the best rounds of Super League we've had. Genuinely, you know, even the games that looked like they were over at half time, back they came. You know, York Knights against Toulouse, Hull FC against Leeds, Bradford. You know, again Castleford. You know, with the exception of the Warrington game, you know, which we'll get onto later. The rest of them were a real tussle. Some of them, I bet, like the likes of yourself, Steph, scratching your head. What on earth's gone on there? Second half, but to the neutral. I mean, you know, for those who aren't emotionally invested in them games, they were absolutely superb. It was exactly what we want Super League to be. Let's stay with the Saints one because, you know, Greg, Saints, you know, you looked at that starting lineup. I mean, it says a lot about Catalans. I mean, I'm taking nothing away from Saints, but Catalans, Dragons, really, you know, I mean, really poor. But that said, Saints, because of their personnel, had to work for it. You know, it was like seeing Wigan and Saints fully strengthened up going toe to toe. That's how hard Saints had to work at that game because of the personnel. So I'm taking nothing away from Saints. The players they had on the pitch, by God, did they have to put a shift in. And I've been critical, we all have, of Jack Wellsby, the likes of Curtis Simmons this year. You know, where are you? That, for me, was probably one of the Curtis Simmons' best ever games for St. Helens. He led by example. He kept himself in check. I thought he was superb.
I couldn't agree more, Dave. Yeah, as I say, you know, he's been dogged throughout his Saints career by suspensions and injuries, Curtis Simmons, but I couldn't agree more that probably one of, if not the best performance of his Saints career in the round just gone. And, you know, I think a lot of people would have thought that Catalans would have won that game because of what happened against Toulouse the week before. What a great job what I can say is what a great job has been done behind the scenes there this week in training. We all know that Mr. Rowley's had his fair share of criticism from Saints fans, but you know there was some old heads back, but the young kids stood up really well, and you have to take your cap off because that probably is the kind of team that Rowley works really well with. A team that has youngsters in it and a team that is on the canvas, is on the ropes and needs to fight back, and that's when you get the best out of Paul Rowley for me. So big raps, not only to the players because they deserve it, but to the coaching team at Saints as well for you know, turning round what could have been a really sticky situation for them if Catalans had won that game.
Yeah, and I agree with Reggie there, Steph. You know, you've got to give plaudits to everybody involved in that Saints win. You can't pick and choose, can you?
No, it was a fantastic team performance, and I think they got the tactics right as well. And you've got to give Paul some credit as well in terms of having I don't know whether he had a choice, but to put the young lads in and give them that trust. You know, to put a lad in on the wing when his natural position as a fullback was a big risk for him. But I think the team rose to the occasion for them. You know, they knew that after last week they owed it to the fans to put in a really good performance. And it was good to see everyone smiling at St. Helens. I thought it was a magnificent performance by them. I think Catalan have definitely got some questions to answer. You know, a bit like Warrington, Wigan the week before. I think, you know, Warrington had something to answer as well and did it, you know, emphatically against OKR. So fair play to both Saints and Warrington for those performances, because it's not easy when you've had a tough loss and a game you're expected to win and win comfortably, to turn it around and then show that attitude. I thought was exemplary from Saints, and they really entertained as well. And just on Sirenen, I was when he started, he gave away 2 penalties, I think, on the trot, and I thought, here we go again. But then just turned it around. He had a fabulous game. He was superb for Saints, and I think with those young lads in, that's what you need from your established, you know, leaders to do that. And I thought they all did it to a man. I thought they were fantastic and put Catalan to the sword.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragons just, I'm not even going there. And like I say, that Saints team had to play at 9 out of 10 to beat that Catalan Dragons team because of the personnel. So it was a monstrous effort. I thought Humphreys as well. I thought when he came on, he had some nice touches as well. I mean, just a great night For St Helens fans, nothing like going to a ground with no expectation and then coming away after that. It's a pinch yourself moment, and I think well done to all involved. It was and as a neutral, brilliant to watch, and it really, really quality game. It could have been a real damp squib, couldn't it? It could have been a let's turn it off at half time, but not a bit of it. Great game of rugby league, absolutely superb, and maybe, just maybe. Bit early to say. We've seen Owen Dagnall this year, been a bit indifferent. He's got his injuries. Let's not over egg the pudding where Jack's concerned. But as debuts go, very, very good indeed. We won't over egg it. We won't put too much pressure on the young man. But that is a moment that he will remember for the rest of his life, and what a performance it was. Absolutely exceptional, young man. Many congratulations to you. Going to the other games, Greg. I mean, look, there was a theme this week, and again, for the integrity of this competition, we've been waiting for Super. I still don't think it's lit up just yet, but what we saw this week was the competitive nature that we could potentially have going forward. Bradford never know the beating. They just never know the beating. Neither do York, neither do Toulouse. Those three teams yet again proved this weekend, if you're going to put your cue in the rack at half time, be very aware of what could come in the second half. And I throw FC into the same mix against Leeds. Leeds blitzed them, absolutely blitzed them in that first half. There have been many people that have been turning off at half time thinking this is going to be 50-60. Not a bit of it. And you've got to give a lot of credit, Greg, to the likes of Andy Last, Kurt Haggerty, Mark Applegar, those coaches in the sheds at half time that galvanised those teams to go out and put that second half performance in.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, kind of the theme for me this week in this round was some fantastic first half performances by teams, and then teams coming back in the second half. Hull didn't quite do it against Lee. I mean, thank God that Cook found his kicking boots for Lee fans, because, Hull looked dangerous in that second half. I thank the Lord that Charlie still knows his way to the try line. Castleford, that's the performance of the season for me, as far as I'm concerned. Castleford against Leeds. Rhinos had that game won. And what a talk in the sheds that was at half time. That Castleford came back and against the odds, snatched it from under the Rhinos' nose. It was just for the neutral, it was a really, really exciting round, especially when a lot of the games you were wondering, do we really need to keep watching this now? Yeah. That's it, game over. That was the thing that stood out for me this weekend. A lot of fight backs that we had after teams had dominated for the first 40.
And the thing about the NRL, is it's never over, Steph. How many times have we watched NRL games where it's exactly like that? You think, it's over. And then miraculous comebacks happen in the second half, and we're all going at the end of the game, what a comeback that was. We've seen it time and time again. Playoffs, whether it's playoff rugby league over there or just regular season. It happens time and again. And it happened this week in Super League, and it's right and it's appropriate. We celebrate that. Your Lee Leopards, you must have been scratching your head second half. You were absolutely impeccable in that first half. I would go as far as to say unplayable at times in that first half. That was some team talk at half time for Andy Last side to galvanise and really, test you, I would say, in that second half.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I've said it before, there's nothing more dangerous than a beaten side at half time. And it can go one or two ways for them, because what naturally happens is you put, caution to the wind, and you start chucking it about, and that is so difficult to defend against when a team in the, Hull FC, I think probably had 2 offloads in that first half. Second half, they must have had 30. It was a completely different team that came out in that second half. And the difference is when you start doing that, it goes one or two ways. It either sticks or you start knocking on and the team puts 60 on you. Yeah. For Hull FC, it just clicked for those, I'd say probably 25 minutes of that second half. I think Lee, the 40-20, what Cook kick changed the game. Fabulous. And he was outstanding the whole game and rightly man of the match. And it needed someone like that to step up for Lee, just to steady the ship. And then Charlie goes in. Even without Charlie's try, Lee still win the game. But, it certainly eased the pressure off that. And Hull FC's been a bit of a bogey round. Don't forget, Lee didn't beat Hull FC last season. So it's not a ground.
Was it last year when you drew over there?
We drew, yes. We drew over there. Everyone was kicking drop goals for fun and couldn't kick any. Very memorable. Yes. So it was. I think Lamb said it perfectly before the game even kicked off. It was about getting the 2 points, and Lee were without players, that Hull FC were without players. But what resulted was it could have been a really turn-off game, which I'm glad it wasn't, because Lee wouldn't have got the credit for that fabulous first half performance. But I've said all along, you've got to give massive credit to FC. To come out and play like that was brilliant to see, and it was very enjoyable, even though it was behind hands at times.
I'm sure it was. They absolutely tested you. We've got WWE royalty in the chat. R-Truth is joining us this evening. I don't know if it's the real R-Truth or not, but by all accounts, not sure who he supports, but he's all over the chat at the moment. So good to have R-Truth there. Keep it respectful, my friend, but great to have you with us. Outstanding stuff. Let's talk Castleford Tigers against the Leeds Rhinos. The perfect ending to the round. Let's be crystal on that. And Greg, look, I'm not taking anything away. Castleford, brilliant. And we're going to give Castleford loads of flowers. Didn't know they would be absolutely exceptional. Well done, the Castleford Tigers. But I do think the Danny Levi injury just turned that game. It really did. It didn't surprise me that, Castleford got a couple of tries off the back of that pretty much. You looked at Jack Bird, who was clearly cut up. It was a bad one. It affected Leeds. They never really got back on track after that for me. Had that not have happened, who knows? But it's all ifs and buts. Leeds, let's start with Leeds, and then we'll get to Castleford, because it's right that we give Castleford loads of flowers for this. But I thought Leeds in the opening 20-25 minutes looked like a Leeds side that were just going to blitz Castleford. I mean, James McDonnell in the dream. First of all, his try. What a try. Then that lovely offload to Brodie Croft off the floor. Beautiful stuff from James McDonnell. I mean, they really were in cruise control in that opening 25 minutes, weren't they? Oh, you might want to come off mute, Reggie. Just, he's only been doing this for 5 years. Go on, carry on, Chief.
I didn't even know I put myself on mute. I think some people would prefer me on mute, to be honest. But, Steph. But Brodie Croft is purring at this moment in time, is what I was saying, behind the paywall, and he's putting some good rugby together. But I think you're right. You could see, as somebody's put in the chat, the looks on some of the faces when that injury happened. There was real concern. It was a real shocker, and thankfully the lad seems to be okay. But yeah, I mean, McDonnell, as you say, was superb in that first half. But for me, I think Croft is a massive play for Leeds at this moment in time. He's kind of finding the try line from places where he shouldn't, and that is part of the armour. They had Hanley out as well. How much was that a factor too? We'll never know, will we? But yeah, it was a shocking injury, a real shocker.
Yeah, it didn't look good. And look, like I say, it's all ifs and buts. What I do know is that, Leeds did look in cruise control up until that injury to Levi. And but you've got to give so much credit to Castleford, because they were just superb. They just didn't go away. They suddenly got belief, didn't they, Steph? Just before half time, they just suddenly got belief. The Ash Goulding, etc. Got some belief. Gary. I thought that, you talk about hands, mate. What's Alex Mellor doing there? What's he doing there? He's a second row. Beautiful hands. Catch and pass. Have a bit of that, says Alex Mellor. Beautiful. I mean, and there were little moments like that Castleford suddenly demonstrated that there is a rugby league side there. Ryan Carr's doing a good job.
Yeah, and I think just on the Levi injury, thank God he's okay, first and foremost. And like we said earlier, credit to the medical staff and everyone's having the patience as well to make sure he got the correct medical attention. It's great news to hear that he's up and about and looks like he's going to be okay. So that's fantastic. But I don't buy that injury costing Leeds or changing the game for them. It's we're talking about the number one side in Super League here, and you're telling me you can't come up with one player. Come on, that's I think it's very disingenuous to a fantastic Castleford performance, and it's an easy excuse to use why they lost that game. Cass was superb, and I think even if Levi doesn't go off injured, I think Cass win that game. There was something for me in that day. It was we all know the One Ball Stadium, as much as it gets grief, is a fantastic venue when it's packed on a summer's day. It's not driving hail and sleet. It's the middle of summer. It's lovely. Them grounds come into their own in summer for me. It's what summer rugby was made for. And there's no better place to see the One Ball absolutely packed. It's vociferous. And the difference is when Castleford get on top or they do something good, that crowd goes with them and really drives them and makes them such a difficult team to beat when it's that kind of situation. So, yes, players being injured obviously affects games, but I don't think this is the reason why Castleford won. And like I say, for a team that's top of the league with barely any injuries, it's more of an excuse, that, for me.
Fair enough. I do think it changed it. Certainly the back end of that second half. I get your point. They should have been able to cope with that, and I absolutely agree with that. But to say it didn't have any effect on the game, it did have a little effect on the game. Maybe, just a little bit. But they should have done better. I'll tell you an interesting one, though, for more flowers. I'll tell you what's a real problem in this game for Leeds, because of all of the things that happened, Greg, in this game, if there was one thing, if I'm Brad Arthur, that will come off that, and for those who've done super chats, we'll get to you in a minute. They're coming, don't panic. But thank you very much indeed. We'll give you your flowers in a moment for that. Of course, you're in with the chance of winning this wonderful copy of this wonderful book. Here it is, marvelous. You're going to get that. But Greg, this for me would be the biggest concern for Brad Arthur. Dejan Arce's try. He gets that ball and he has a standoff and absolutely goes for it. And the defence Leeds, that's a standoff. That's not a prop forward. One, they allowed him too much space and room to get his momentum going. That was some try. This is a player who's already been told he's not there next year. You talk about integrity of rugby league players. A player that is not going to be at Castleford next year. And boy, did he want that try. It was a wonderful moment for Castleford. But if I'm Brad Arthur, that's a moment in that game that I'm doing on the highlight reel today or yesterday, whenever they did the debriefing, going, boys, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, and it's definitely something they'll be working on in training for most of the week. But you can't take it away from Arce for scoring the try. He made the try his own. Was it poor from Leeds, or was it just brilliance from Arce? That probably a bit of both. For me, the highlight of the game was Weaver's pass to Ashworth for his try.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that you talk about Ben Curry's try. Ben Curry's pass to Sipley. That for me, the Weaver's pass to Ashworth was phenomenal. But yeah, it is something. It is something that they will no doubt be working on in training, tightening up that defence. You don't give players with that kind of pace the space that they gave him. You're right, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree. Look, great win for Castleford. I mean, for once, Jake Connor possibly cost Leeds the game because he left his kicking boots at home for once. Because if he nails his kicks, they win. But that's life. Castleford Tigers, absolutely superb. Delighted for you. Let's talk Ryan Carr just for a moment. One, the job he's doing. But secondly, what on earth are Sky? I mean, you could hear what he was saying. I personally haven't got a problem. If you're going to put Sky cameras, that he's perfectly in time. I mean, don't get me wrong. The line where he questions the referee's integrity. I know the Rugby Football League are asking the question on that, but I'm not being funny. How many other coaches say exactly the same thing, but they're not next to Sky cameras and microphones? I feel a bit sorry here for Ryan Carr where that's concerned, and I hope it doesn't get silly where that's concerned.
But that's a Castleford club issue. It's not Sky issue, is it? How stupid to put your coach right next to the commentary booth. Cass could change that like that. So,
yeah, true.
And
you don't want it getting silly though, do you? In terms of that, because that'll happen off camera every game.
Yeah, but you do it when you're not in earshot of 250,000 people or whatever it was. It's I have got a bit of a problem with it because what he said, was very bad, in terms of what you could say to an official, and it was a poor look on the sport. I thought, not that it takes away from anything from Cassie's performance or whatever, but when we question the integrity of match officials broadcast live to the nation, I think that's a bit poor.
Spiky from the sail. Spiky, what's he like, a hedgehog this evening? Ooh, prickly. Anyway, not to worry. But look, Ryan Carr, Greg, what a job. You're looking at the recruitment for next year that Castleford are doing. it's fair to say this Castleford side, the league position doesn't lie. It's a tough year this year. A lot of those players aren't going to be there next year. So I think just stripping everything back, for a coach to be getting a tune like that out of a side against the top side, I think that says a lot about Ryan Carr, because that takes man management, that takes real coaching. And I think if I'm a Castleford Tigers fan going into 2027, he is no doubt for me the right man for that job.
Well, he's certainly making it a lot clearer that he is, isn't he, with the performances that they've been putting in. I think, this season, I think Cast fans will be happy to get what they can out of it. And more performances like that second half will make them very, very happy indeed. And as you rightly say, Dave, some of the names that are coming in next season, if you're a Cast fan, with the way they're performing with the players you've got now, and players who, a lot may well be playing for contracts at other clubs, so they're up in the game accordingly. But if you're a Cast fan, you're going to be very, very excited at a pre-season, a full pre-season with Ryan Carr, and the new signings coming in whenever. They're coming from down under, so they probably won't be in before Christmas. But it's exciting times if you're at the one ball, not the jungle.
Yes, absolutely, and like I say, incredible. Look, just for our, it's Rebecca, I believe, is our truth. It's Rebecca. Nothing's better. Everything's different. Everything's different is all I would say. Everything's different. Every podcast is different. There is no better. There is just difference. That is what I would say. But great for your feedback. And look, if you really want to make a difference, become a member and be a part of the Ladies Tackle Talk. I'm sure the ladies would welcome you with open arms. Right, boys, we've got to go there. We built this up as the game of the round. Didn't turn out that way. Before we get there, Carol Moore had the great pleasure of meeting her for the first time in the Bluebell before the game. And she's already gone to the bar this evening. She's not a sour KR fan, not at all. There she is, bar time, boys. She's not bitter, you know what I mean? The drinks are on her. Hats off to the wife, says Carol. Very passionate on Ladies Tackle Talk this week, Carol, as well. Fully enjoyed that. Her and Tina. Happy days. Respectful debate. That's what it's all about. And you did a great job. And Rebecca Frey, who's absolutely over the moon, I'm sure, with the win for the Wire this weekend. Fantastic stuff. James Bentley, better off the bench. Absolutely. Less time to give penalties away. But anyway, that's by the by. But no, joking aside, Steph, you're playing Warrington this week. And I think probably Warrington, the way they've been playing up to KR, you're probably sitting there as a Leaf fan at home thinking, should be all right. But all of a sudden, with that performing, Warrington's got to replicate it. But as a Lee Leopards fan facing, you must have been as surprised as certainly we were, that Warrington first half performance. It was perhaps their performance of the season in terms of how they played.
Yeah, no, it was an exceptional, exceptional performance by Warrington. And after how poor they were at Wigan the week before, like I said earlier, I think it was a fantastic turnaround, and they certainly used that home advantage. I think KR were off the mark, as they have been for a bit, but you still got to turn up and play really well, and I think Warrington did that. So yeah, it should be an absolute cracker at the Sports Village. And I think one thing you can say when Lee play Warrington is it's going to be a good game, and we never know who's going to win. Any team on the day, I think they're very comparable at the moment, squad wise.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, Warrington's got the upper hand 2-1 with the Challenge Cup win. Lee obviously had a lot of injuries on that early season. But I think this time round, obviously, Lee were dominant at Magic. But I think a packed out LSV this Saturday, it should be an absolute belter of a game. And both teams will really, really want this one.
Yeah, and Adam Cook, of course, far better at this point than he was back earlier in the season, no doubt about it, where the Lee Leopards are concerned. Warrington, like I say, been on this roller coaster, Greg, many times. Any Warrington fan who is getting giddy out there, just remember this is Warrington we're talking about. One spring does not make a summer. It was very, very good. Very, very good indeed. I said at the end of the game, that was probably a team 9 out of 10 performance. Every player on the park really playing to a high level. And to replicate that week on week is very difficult to do. Are you cautious going into the league game at the weekend? Or do you think Warrington could replicate? On mute again. It's terrible. 5 years. I'd say it again. 5 years. Come on.
Maybe only 5 more minutes.
Ollie, dust your boots off, son. Anyway, carry on.
Come on, more than welcome, Ollie. I would hope, that performance does give me some optimism. But the LSV Warrington haven't performed there in recent years, recent seasons.
Never won, have you? The LSV. This could be the first.
Well, there's a first chance for everything, Mr. Sales.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. This could be the first time you've done it. It's
Listen. I didn't expect them to beat Hull KR on Saturday.
I don't think anyone fan did.
No, and I still, if I'm being honest, think we will struggle at the LSV. We always do. If we do win, it'll have to be a performance as good as the one they had in that, certainly the first 50 minutes of that game against Hull KR on Saturday. There were still moments when silly mistakes were made, and the discipline let them down a little bit at certain times in that second half, which is something you can't do at the LSV. You have to have a 9 out of 10 across the board if you want to hope to get anything from going to the LSV, especially with Warrington's record. So cautiously optimistic, prepare for the worst and hope for the best, which should be Warrington's motto.
Yeah, the big thing. Sorry, Dave. I think the real big one in this one is Joffa and Mulhern, because Warrington's pack was outstanding against KR and really bullied them down the middle. So I think if Lee are still missing those two, that's a massive advantage to Warrington, given how well their pack played this week.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we'll get on to KR in a minute, because I know there'll be a lot of people waiting for KR. I saw Gary Hutchinson earlier on praying that what we're going to say about KR. And of course, we'll do it respectfully, because that's what we do on this show. We will talk about KR and what we saw at the weekend. But I think what we're seeing at this moment in time, and it's a big concern for KR, Greg, is that when you look at the teams that have really got a number on KR this year, Leeds, in both games, Wigan at the Challenge Cup. I said when I saw the starting lineups, Warrington here are going to try and take them out down the middle. And that has been the blueprint for Leeds. It's been the blueprint for Wigan. That's a concern, because, you can't play off a beaten pack. You can have the best players in the world. Warrington bullied down the middle. And then when it got to the edges, there was a lot of tight defenders in there. Hull had a lot of defending to do, especially in that first half. Tied out the middle. We've seen Warrington do that against Wigan in Halliwell Jones Stadium at the start of the season. Exactly the same tactic. Tire them out, get it out to the edges once they're tired, and that's where the tries came. That's going to be a concern for KR, because at the moment they are, in these games where they're losing, they are getting rolled in the middle, aren't they?
They are, and as we said on commentary on Saturday, Dave, it was a strange choice in the pack for KR. They had Dean Hadley, a natural second row propping. They had Lawton, who's a hooker, in the second row. And they had players who could fill those positions on the bench. And we were saying it was a strange, kind of like Warrington a couple of weeks ago with square pegs in round holes. It was kind of the same for KR as well on Saturday. And you rightly say, Warrington bullied them. Now, a lot of Warrington fans have been fearful about the pack this season, and after a few seasons, and being honest, that our pack isn't good enough. But, the likes of Joe Philbin came off the bench and was making yards after contact. Harrison was using footwork of a standoff to get through the defence to score under the posts. That has to be a concern. And big raps to Sam Burgess, he packed the bench with forwards, and it worked.
Yeah, Steph, we did a bit of an instant reaction. I want to get your take on this. Now, in terms of KR, Willie Peters. Now, not many people have, we think Willie Peters has done a phenomenal job at KR, and he goes out with his head held high. But for me, if I'm a KR fan, I am a little bit scratching my head on that starting lineup. I really am. Dean Hadley at prop, when you've got 3 props on the bench, doesn't need to do that. He then plays Carl Lawton in second row. It just seemed bonkers. When that for me, sometimes you've got to put a square peg in a round hole. But when you're 17 that you're putting out there, you don't need to do that. Dean Hadley's a very capable prop. He'll do you a job, but he's a lot better in second row. A lot better in second row. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe it was because Tommy Moan was coming back for me. I don't know. But for me, if I'm a KR fan, I'd probably want to know why that was the setup. It just seemed really bizarre.
Didn't they have Broadbent on the bench as well?
Broadbent on the bench as well, yeah.
And then Reece Martin at
In the
centre.
centre. Again, you're looking at that
Yeah.
square pegs round holes.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously you've got to. Willie's working with these players every day, isn't he? So he knows what's what and who's fitter or whatever. So there's lots of things we're not privy to. But I will admit I was surprised with where he put people when he didn't need to do it. Obviously, some coaches, Lee have got David Armstrong playing at centre at the moment because of necessity. But when you've got what seems to be players available in their positions, it's round peg square hole situation, isn't it? But it definitely didn't work for me. It didn't help them against Warrington. So yes, you can put things down to player performance, but I also think you can, not very often in Willie's career, I would say, but this one I would have to have questions about that team selection and why he did that. But like I say, there could be reasons we're not privy to, so I can't be too critical, but it did seem bizarre.
For me, again, we're going to do this respectfully. It's right that we do it respectfully. I'm talking as a rugby league fan, as I always do on this show. Jez Litton, arguably the best 9 in the comp last year. Quality rugby league player. Absolute quality on his day. But Greg, if he's not got a knock, if Jez Litton is not carrying an injury, then for me, especially when you've got the likes of Bill Leyland, that we saw what he did at Saints. If I'm Willie Peters, and I never will be, he knows far more about rugby than I ever will, but I'm resting Jez Litton for a few rounds. You want him at his best at the back end of the comp. He looked totally and utterly out of it. He looked tired. He didn't look himself. You've got a ready replacement in Bill Leyland. You had 2 England 9s going head to head. Danny Walker, absolutely. I mean, Brian McDermott's watching that. Then on that game alone, it's not about that game alone, but on that game alone, then Walker's just done himself a major favour against an opposite number. But we know Litton's got the quality. I'm not writing Jez off. I'm really not. But you, like me, were really surprised how ineffective such a great player was. I think he needs a rest. What's your view?
Well, it wasn't so much ineffective, Dave, as his body language was all wrong.
Yeah.
He genuinely looked as if he didn't want to be there. He was wandering back into the line when KR had possession. He was stood with his hands on his hips when they were defending. Having watched the game back, I didn't know whether he had taken a knock early doors. And it may have affected him because one of the first 5 or so minutes, I think he might have took a heavy challenge. But I've got nothing to back that up. Do they rest him? Hull Derby coming up. Do you rest arguably one of, if not the best, number 9 in the comp? Do you rest him, take that risk, especially when you have your playmaker, your number 6, your star player sitting on the bench for his indiscretions? You're right in what you say. Maybe rotating more with Bill Leyland might be an option. But do you take that risk when the Hull Derby's coming up? You've got your playmaker sitting down.
But is it a risk based on what you saw on Saturday? Is it a risk, or do you put Bill Leyland in? Look what he did at Saints. And this isn't a case.
Yeah.
Jez will come back bigger and better. There's no doubt about it. But for me, he looked like he needed a rest. And if I think you played Bill Leyland at the weekend. You said, "Go on, lad, go and have a run, go and impose yourself." And Jez, this is about getting energy back into you, resetting for the business end of the season.
You may well be right. I don't think they'll risk that in the Hull Derby, though. I think what they might do is start with Lawton at number 9 and bring Jez off the bench. And depending on how that goes, then they might think about bringing Leyland in. It's a massive risk, as I say. If it wasn't the Hull Derby, you might have a point, Dave. But you've got Mikey Lewis, who isn't playing in that game. If you sit Jez Litton down as well, they are 2 of your most creative players, alongside Tyrone May and Arthur Morg. Arthur Morg was very, very quiet, but he's coming back from injury. It's a conundrum, and at times like this, I'm glad I'm not a coach.
Well, no, but I mean, you turn around and look, they are their star players, but at this moment in time, if you look over the last 5 games, especially Litton, totally ineffective. Last 5 games, and based on what I saw, if he isn't carrying a knock, No, that lad's played a lot of rugby league. Look, I accept that. KR have played a lot. I accept that. And that's why squad rotation is so important. And maybe KR's underbelly, the fact that they haven't really got an academy at the moment, that's biting them at this moment in time. And I think Willie Peters, last year, you could afford to play your strongest 17 every game. You could afford to do that. But when you look at what they've done over the past 18 months, I'm afraid you've got to rotate. You have to, because rugby league is a bruising sport. It's unforgiving. And what I saw there was players that had been there, got the t-shirt last year. They looked a shadow of what they were last year, and they were exceptional last year. Steph, everybody's waiting. I know everybody is waiting for the conversation over Micah. And they are. When are they going to? The amount of people who are sitting there now going, when are they going to get to Mikey Lewis? Well, we're going to get to Mikey Lewis right now. But before we do, let's give Jill a little bit of a wrap. She's gone in. She's raising the glass to the Super League Raw family. So we'll raise one back to you, Jill. Thank you very much. You're in with the shot of the book. So thank you very much indeed for that. But Steph, we're going to go there. Mikey Lewis. Your thoughts?
I think it was just stupidity, frustration. First and foremost, I want to pay Mikey a compliment and say he got this out of his game, and he's been brilliant. And not only that, when he stopped it, his game improved as well. And quite right, he was man of steel. So. He has been phenomenal for the past couple of years. We all know he's got this in it. It started right at the beginning of the season with the stupid trip, what he did, which got him a ban. And I think the most disappointing thing is he came out with the right things with that and said, I've let my teammates down. I would take ownership for it. Fine. If you learn from... Everybody makes mistakes. The key to mistakes is you learn your lessons from them and you don't repeat them. And that's the key to it. And if you carry on repeating them, more fool you. But like I say, he got that out of his game. I think even that trip, though, I didn't think was malicious. It was stupid and,
lazy. It was lazy.
Yeah, it was it was taking the easy option.
Yeah.
This to me looked like someone who was incredibly frustrated with probably his own performance as much as his team's performance recently, because I think he has been off form, Mikey, for the past few weeks. And he kind of reset to factory, didn't it? It's like someone pressed the Control-Alt-Delete and he went back to how he was 2 years ago. And you could tell it wasn't just a moment of madness, because then he goes on and does the hit on Irwin, and gets yellow carded for it. So what I would have liked to have seen, though, is how was that not picked up by the video ref? What are the video refs doing for the 70 other minutes that they're not reviewing? I think, they should be picking up on stuff like this. They should be seeing it. So for me, it should have been a red card on the field. Anybody who headbutts another player should be. And the match review panel have approved that. But, Mikey's let his team down again. And what we need to see from him is to learn a lesson. But how many lessons does he need? How many chances does he need? Because what it will start to do is cost him his international career and potentially an NRL career as well, where he could be earning mega money. He's still young enough to do that.
So on that point, Steph, at the start of the season, we're begging for a Connor Lewis 7-6 in the World Cup.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you saying at this moment in time, Mikey Lewis doesn't go?
No. I won't have him anywhere near the England squad, because he's showing at the moment. With this, it's the when things aren't going your way, you revert to type, and that's the concerning thing for me, for Mikey. And I've been prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like you say, I would have had him at the start of the season as England's starting six. Him and Connor, I would have had. Now I wouldn't have him anywhere near the England team at the moment. Over two or three stupid incidents. And also, I think his form's not good enough for England at the moment. I don't think he's playing well enough for England at the moment. So, but I think the biggest thing for Mikey, forget the international stuff, because if he wants to make a career where he can retire at the end of rugby, he needs to go to the NRL and earn some serious money. But the NRL clubs are not; they'll see him as a liability, and that's it's so sad, because when he's in a good place and he's playing well, there's no better six in the competition. He's phenomenal. He's just such a talented player.
Yeah. Absolutely. In the chat, our truth is clearly a Huddersfield Giants fan. Very disappointed with one of the comments on Tackle Talk, and I get that. And I'm sure that particular person would probably want to phrase it in a different way. We have got a lot of Huddersfield Giants members here. One of them is Greg Roach, who's offering to say hello at York at the weekend. Take up that option. I'm sure Mr. Roach will be able to tell you a bit more about the membership that is Super League Raw. We'll come back to that in a minute. But anyway, that's by the by. But no, I mean, look, great stuff. Yeah, it's a good point. Now, look, there is a super chat in there, and it's AD Hodgson. I'm not going to put it on the screen, and I'll explain why in a minute. But he does say that Mikey is the best English halfback. Greg, on his day, he probably is on his day when he's head straight. You know, very few players in Super League have got the ability of Mikey Lewis. But what we saw on Saturday is his Achilles heel. And the player that's probably going to go to the World Cup, the reigning man of steel in Jake Connor, he's been there, done this, and got the T-shirt. And I thought in Tackle Talk, great suggestion. You know, does Jake put Mikey under his wing? Because he's been there. He has wasted years of his career doing what Mikey's doing right now. So as a mentor, is Jake ready for that? I mean, I'd love to think that Jake is ready for that. You know, this is about the future of English Rugby League. Jake is probably done after this World Cup, quite frankly. So, you know, that'd be a nice thing for Jake Connor to say, Mikey, come here, mate. Come under my wing for a bit. You know, Brad Arthur's done a phenomenal job. And Greg, in closing, just to feed you a little bit more, the fact that Willie Peters is off, who I think has really done a job on Mikey Lewis, has that diluted it a bit? I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of rumours flying around, as you're well aware, on Saturday about discontent in the camp and things like that. I think, as I said to you, a happy Mikey Lewis is often unplayable. An unhappy Mikey Lewis is a liability. And I think there's a lot of frustrations might be hanging over from the way he was treated by Sean Wayne and the Ashes. I think the crowd had a lot to do with his frustrations on Saturday, because probably one of the biggest cheers of the afternoon is when he knocks that ball on just before he headbutts Holroyd. And then he kind of got back at the crowd. That might have got under his skin, but you can't let things, you can't go to Australia and play international rugby down under for England and expect the crowd to be nice and polite to you, especially when you play in Australia and New Zealand.
It's going to be a pressure
He's
cooker,
got
mate.
to get it more. That for me is where he's a liability. And going back to Connor, that would be a project and a half for Connor to turn around and say to him, listen, I've been there where you are. In the last 18 months, I've grown up. I've got a grip on my game. But at the moment, there are far better. There are maybe players who aren't as good as you, Mikey, but who can keep the head when the pressure's on. Harry Smith from Wigan, players like that who can lead a team around the pitch, and even when your back's against the wall, can inspire their team to win. You know, you've got young players like Jack Farriman coming through, who are showing far more maturity at this stage of their career than Mikey Lewis does sometimes. I'm not saying Mikey Lewis is immature all the time, but he just lets that little aspect creep into his game. So it's an interesting one. It's an interesting conundrum. And I'm with Steph at this moment in time. He doesn't go down under, because in that pressure cooker of an atmosphere, especially if it's a final against Australia, when the crowd is going to be on his back, and it's going to be a huge crowd that's going to be on his back if it's a final against Australia. Can you risk that? And I don't think you can.
No, and of course, there's been this big debate over George Williams. Should he go to the World Cup? No, he's supposed to be back in 3 weeks. And I'll tell you now, you know, if you're Brian McDermott, you're probably going to take George Williams at the minute before Mikey for that reason, temperament. Yep. You know, in terms of big game management.
He's still his captain.
Yeah,
Williams is still McDermott's captain, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, people's, you know, Craig, Wigan, you know, Bevan French. Look, we're talking England there. You know, come on, Craig. We're talking England World Cup here. We're not talking Bevan French. You know, let's play the game. But I want to close. Look, right. If I may. I mean, look. Before we do, Steph, 3 games for the headbutt, 1 game for the shot on Irwin, which again was petulance. Was that about right as far as you were concerned?
Well, that's me and you talked about it, didn't you? And I told you to get 3 games and 1 game for the thing. I knew what was coming. Pangai Jr. got 6 for, you know, an attempted eye gouge. You know, when you deliberately headbutt someone, I think that's in the same category. It should have been 6 games for me.
So you think he's lucky, yeah?
Yeah.
Ulysses, same fireman for England. Big love heart eyes. Look, he's Lance Dodd Trophy winner. I think it's too early, but I think once we get past the World Cup, I think the Jack Farriman will certainly come into a lot of talking points, especially
Farriman Irwin is next World Cup.
And Irwin. Yeah, I think that the other side of the World Cup. I think their next 2 or 3 years, by the time absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They'll be purring. They'll be absolutely purring. Greg, same question. About right. Well, Steph says that he expected a bit longer a ban for Lewis. What was your view?
I thought he'd get a bit longer because not only does he headbutt him, but he punches him as well. While he's still, he doesn't connect properly, but he throws a punch as well at Holroyd. I expected more games. What did Hastings get for the off the ball challenge? In the first game of the season against Rugby, he got 3 games for the off the ball challenge. So if we're going to set a precedent, then it should have been 6.
So there you go. Now, of course, as I've done there, I'm kept me powder dry on Mikey. This is my take on Mikey Lewis. I think we need to be really careful here, folks. I think we need to be really, really careful where Mikey Lewis is concerned. His on-field performance, absolutely. If you're a professional athlete in any sport, your on-field performance is there to be criticised. Absolutely. 100%. And no podcast, no journalist, no pundit, nobody can be held to account for holding Mikey's on-field performance to account. But what we don't do here at Super League Raw, unlike others, is we don't get personal. We debate rugby league and we do it with respect. You can disagree with people, but the moment you get personal, regardless of who you are, I think you need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And what we're seeing online at the moment is things outside of rugby league where Mike is concerned that are finding their way onto social media for no other reason than for those platforms to get clicks and to get likes. And that really, really grinds at me. Now, I think what we need to do here is we need to consider, this is Mikey, Steph said it, he's 25, and this is still in his game. And every single one of us as human beings, if what happens in your life off the field isn't right, it will affect you on the field. So in your working life or in your private life, if you're having problems at work, it comes into your personal life. If you're having problems in your personal life, it comes into work, no matter what we do. And what I would say to everybody here now is that Mikey Lewis does need to be held to account for what he's doing on the field. But let's take a bigger picture here. I hope and I pray that Hull KR are giving Mikey Lewis the best professional help out there. Because what I'm seeing in this young man is somebody who needs to be trained between his ears. I'm sure he's turning up for training every week and passing a ball. I bet he doesn't miss a gym session. What Mikey Lewis needs more than anything is a gym session of the mind. That's what I'm seeing. And I hope and pray he gets it. Nobody said this. I've not heard this anywhere, but we're saying it here on Super League Raw. Mikey Lewis needs, for me, to be given the best possible help and care off the field. And if he gets that, because I think there's things he needs to work through, whether that be a part of his rugby career or not, that he needs to work through. And as a human being, I truly hope he gets that. And Hull KR, for me, have got a duty of care to ensure that Mikey Lewis is getting that. And if he fails after that, that's on Mikey Lewis. When you're giving that level of help and care, it's then down to you. You've got to take that personal responsibility. Take it from somebody who knows. You have to take personal responsibility for your mental health. This is somebody who nearly took his own life. I don't say that every week, but I'm saying it now. So those who've only just joined Super League Raw, this all came about through my personal circumstances. So I know what I'm talking about here. And Mikey Lewis needs that help. Hull KR, please, release it. Let us know that you are giving him that help because he needs it. And if he can get himself right off the field, then we will see the best version of Mikey on the field. That's what I'm seeing. Super League Raw do not take cheap shots. We don't get personal. We will hold him to account on the field, but we are not going to join this bandwagon of kicking this lad when he's down. Take it from somebody who knows. Mikey Lewis needs help, and I hope and pray that Hull KR are giving him that help. And now to lighten the mood, let's go to Little Lord.
What Would the Lovers Say is proudly sponsored by South Coast Lane Carpets. From shag pile to vinyl, nylon to wool, you are guaranteed to find the right fit for your home. Contact them today and tell them Oliver sent you. This is what would all of us say at Super League Raw. One thing that really caught my eye this week was the ending of the Toulouse v York game. In the final few minutes, the touch judge tried to tell the referee about a decision, but the referee didn't hear him straight away. Then play carried on. Toulouse threw a poor pass, York got the ball, and then 2 or 3 phases later, the referee suddenly stopped the game and brought it all the way back. For me, that just caused loads of confusion. The players had already carried on because they thought play was live. York could win the ball fairly, from what they could see, but then everything was taken back because of something that had happened earlier that the touch judges called. So, here's my question. Should referees be allowed to go back and change a decision after play is continued? Or should they stick with what they believe was right at the time and let the game carry on? What do you think, Super League Raw?
So there he is, little all, as he always does, bringing it large. Good lad. Reggie. He's dusting off his boots, the lad. Great comments as always from little all. Steph will be back with us in a minute. Did you see it?
To be honest, Dave, I didn't see what happened at that particular point.
Okay. All right. So let me walk you through this and let me answer. But yet again, detail. What a lad. Detail. Brilliant. It's the future. He's taking over. You know, when he gets old enough, it's going to be, here's the reins, son. Off you go. What a lad, young Ollie is. Missed him at the weekend.
He can have my job now if he wants it.
Yeah, I don't think he was there at the weekend, but what a lad. Right. What he's referring to here is, I think it was about 77, 78 minutes into the game. The ball goes out, and the ball actually gets spilled. And actually, the end decision was right. The ball went back to York. In answer to your question, actually, Kendall did right not to listen to his linesman because he actually jumps from the field of play, passes the ball back into the field of play. It's play on, but he put his flag up. So first and foremost, on this occasion, for me, the linesman was wrong anyway. Shouldn't have even put his flag up. But hey, at least he made a decision, which is, let's be fair, it's what we call for. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, folks. So eventually the ball goes back to York. But the problem was a play the ball had gone. So, and it looked as though they had gone back to that. It was absolute nonsense, quite frankly. But the end result was right. But I think what we're saying here is, what is the role of the linesman? If the linesman gives a decision, of course, the referee in all sports can overrule. That's the same in any sport. The referee is ultimately the decision maker on the park. He can overrule his linesman. Now, because the linesman has put his flag up saying that he believed the player was in touch, and Chris Kendall is quite far away, I don't see how he can overrule in that situation, but he did. But the right call came out in the end. So in a roundabout kind of way, that's what happened. The ball ended up getting back to York. It was the right decision. So it sorted itself out. It just looked really, really messy. So it's a great question from all.
Yes.
I've heard you know, almost had to pull you down off the stands, mate, in terms of linesmen not giving decisions. They should give more, but what's vitally important is that when they give them, they get them right. And then the referee might trust them more.
It's the $1 million question that Ollie's asked there. And I think added to that, Ollie's asking, is it right after play's gone on to pull it back so far?
I'm not after a play that no.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, this kind of thing is creeping in, not just into rugby, but it's creeping into the round ball game with VAR, where a game's carrying on, and suddenly the referee will stop the game and go back.
That's a violation. There was no need to bring football up there, was there?
But it's an example of how are we becoming too reliant on another set of eyes in the stand watching the game and on video tech.
Anyway, Steph, what's your view on this? Just out of curiosity, you know what I mean? I'm only joking, Reggie. I'm only joking. Every now and again, it's good to get one of them in. Go on, mate. Carry on.
It's for me.
Anyway, Steph, I'm only joking. I'm only kidding. Carry on, Steph. Go on, Greg.
Right, turn my mic off and carrying on. See, it's better when my mic's off, mate. You complain when my mic's off, but then you turn.
Can we get Reggie? Can we get Reggie some help? Have we got a counselor that we can go on to?
Oh, there's plenty of them in Warrington, mate. I tell you.
Paul Borman saying cricket's coming out next. Please, Paul, no, don't encourage him. Carry on, Greg. Carry on.
I nearly did as well, but I won't. For me, my biggest problem is yes, linesmen should be more involved, but a lot of the time they're in communication with the ref and they don't need to raise the flag a lot of the time. They'll just say something in the referee's ear, like that was a knock on. He was in touch there. They don't really need
tea tonight.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Fancy pint.
I love you.
Where did you get that brilliant haircut?
Yeah. Why are you wearing Josh Charlie's shorts? That kind of thing. Yeah. Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Ollie, the job's yours from next week, I tell you. I've lost my thread. So for me, the issue is this reliance on the video ref. The video ref has obviously said something in his ear that he needs to go back. And when do we draw the line? And that's a big question for me. It's a big bugbear of mine that games are being refereed once, twice, 3 times sometimes, and then you get the disciplinary committee refereeing it again. So yeah, it's a great question from Ollie, and we want referees to be better. We want their assistants to be better. We want video referees to be better, and it's something we have to work on. And the RFL has got to give clearer guidance on when is it right for you to bring a game back. Does it happen after? Is it white clean when there's been a play the ball? You know that it's a bugbear of mine. This.
Well, based on what you just said, can I just take this moment to thank you for the time that you've given me? Because you once, twice, 3 times a lady, Mr. Nixon. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I see what you did there. You, hey, yes. Lionel Richie, super fan. You. I saw what you did there. Wonderful.
I love Lionel. I love Lionel Rich too, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. Steph, anything from you on this, or are we moving on? Go on, mate.
No, for the sake of the viewers, I'll agree with Reggie.
Fantastic. Wonderful stuff. Right, let's get into the Man of Steel. The Man of Steel debate. Oh, my days. Now, I was very, very critical. For those people who watched us when the first one got done, I was very critical. Larry Hanley only picking 2 people. Guess what? He picked 4 this time, which was still negligent in terms of what he's there to do. Should have picked 5. So the old row, yet again, all that row should be null and void because a player didn't get points that everybody else could have got. So it influenced the overall outcome of who was in the top 5. Absolute scandalous, but it was laughed off again. I'm sorry. Not liking this at all. Really not liking this new format at all. You know, when I mean, I know that Steph, I don't think you've caught up on it. I don't know if you have, Greg, but you know, when you're hearing Ellery Hanley talk about Ollie Ashelbot, and his actual words was he's playing fantastic on both sides of the ball. And if he played for a better team, he'd probably be in consideration. What? I mean, I'm sitting there going, what? Where's that coming? And then he contradicts himself about 10 minutes later because he turned around and said, maybe we should be looking more at these players. Yes, because it's your job. That's what you should be doing. You should be looking at all the players, not just the ones who play for Leeds, Wigan and all these. It's just like, I was like, my mind was blown, absolutely blown. Anyway, the shortlist was Jake Connor, Ash Handley. Don't think any of us have got any issue with those 2, have we? No. Miller again. Now, Ollie Ashelbot was not included, hasn't been included in both. About the first discussion and the second. He's not even qualified for the top 10 in either discussion.
Hasn't he been suspended for 3 games as well?
Lockie Miller's been out for 3. Yeah. So if you're taking the whole 18 rounds into account, I'm sorry, but Miller's playing well, but how's Ollie Ashelbot not getting a mention?
Even worse, though, if you've taken the last 10 and he's only played 7.
That's 9. That's 9 and only played 6.
That's what the judging it on.
Yeah, sorry, Ashelbot was included this time around, but didn't make the top 5. My apologies. O'Neill was in there from a Wigan perspective. Tyrone May, yes, rounds 1 to 9, but shouldn't have been in the shortlist rounds 10 to 18. I think even KR fans would concede that. Mikey Lewis was in there as well. Yamala Hanley, Steph.
Yeah, I've already said
as a Leeds fan.
Yeah, no. The games he's played in, he's been phenomenal, but he's not played enough to be in contention for that.
And then this will make you really smile. Daz Clark of St. Helens was included because of his attitude. I'll say that again. He was in the top 10. I'm just going to put this out there because of his attitude. Now, that's basically saying that all these hundreds of players in Super League are currently playing with the wrong attitude, even though all their stats are better. They're not in because their attitude is wrong. Now, can you believe that Daz Clark, who, when he's played for Saints, has been one of their best players? We'd say that, no question. Daz has had a big impact this year. I'm not bagging Daz Clark. It's not his fault his name's in the app. He hasn't put it there. But attitude. Now, Greg, how do you feel knowing that a Man of Steel panel for 2 sessions running now, Daz Clark first session had got it. This one is there for attitude. As a Rugby League fan with such a prestigious award as the Steve Prescott Man of Steel, I'll say it again, Steve Prescott Man of Steel, that Daz Clark at this moment in time has been included in a second round discussion because of his attitude.
Yeah, I really, the notes I made on this whole thing was, what's the point of it? It's just, yeah, and as you say, how can you include somebody just for attitude? Mikey Lewis is in there. He's had a real attitude adjuster this weekend. So
yeah, that's round 19.
And I realised that it was done before this weekend. But yeah, for me, when Brian Carney said without further ado, I thought it's further ado, mate. But never mind. You know, I just, you know, we criticised the process before, but this is just, I can't bring the words out that someone what I think about this process.
I can't spec. I can't spec.
You dirty get.
I'm not going to do the rest of it.
No, don't do the rest of it. No, but here's the thing, right, lads. Right, Steph. Here's the thing, right. And it's the only conclusion. I think we're all confused over this. I'm confused over it. How's it actually working? What does it mean? Top five. Does that mean that they're? I don't get it. I don't think the rules of engagement have been very well explained. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think it's been pretty poor. But the thing that, as we sit here now, it's inconceivable that any player that hasn't been mentioned in session 1 or 2 can win Man of Steel. It's inconceivable because Miller has appeared in both. Clark has appeared in both. So any new player that comes in round 3 can't possibly get it because already we've got the likes of Miller. I can't remember if Connor was mentioned. I know Brodie Croft was the first time round. The top 5 first time round was Miller. He's back again. May, he's back again. And Clark is back again. Those 3 have appeared in both 10s. Right? So that basically means that if the Man of Steel is not Miller, Clark, May, or somebody who's already got 1 vote currently, nobody else can get Man of Steel. Unless I'm missing something, because we haven't actually been given the rules of engagement.
I just don't understand it, if I'm being honest with you.
No.
So I find it hard to have an opinion when I don't understand something, and I've not watched it, the thing. So that's on me, not to have an educated argument 2 or 4, this kind of thing. Did just say Darryl Clark attitude? Did they not say anything else about
attitude? He's there.
They didn't say anything else.
And played. That was it. I mean, I can't tell you the whole discussion, but I'm pretty sure that people in the chat will tell you they came away from it saying Darryl Clark is in the 10 because of his attitude. Right. His attitude. Now, I'm sorry, but no. I mean, Machuja's Som. I'm going to put Machuja's Som out there at Toulouse because clearly they don't watch Toulouse. Well, not all of them. I'm not going to put them all in the same bracket. But just to quote Oli again, maybe we should look at these players more. Yeah, I think you should. But Machuja's Som, who has statistically been exceptional, exceptional on the field, been exceptional. I would say one of the breakout players of this season, not included. Are we saying that Machuja's Som, despite all of his statistical brilliance and what we've seen on the field, brilliance, are we saying that Machuja's Som's attitude's poor? Is that what we're saying?
Well,
that's
again, I'm finding it difficult because I've not actually heard what they actually said.
Based on what I'm telling you,
yeah, it sounds.
I'm questioning Machuja's Som's attitude for Toulouse, Steph.
I'm questioning why we're even watching this and why he's even on. 'Cause it sounds like a bit of a joke, to be honest with you. Some things should remain behind closed doors, and then we can just be confused blindly rather than just confused.
Yeah, whoever wins the Leaders Shield, they can pick a play from that and justify it by they play for the winning Leaders Shield team.
How was Brodie Croft not in the 10?
Brodie Croft's been exceptional the last 9 rounds.
22 tries from a 6 is unbelievable. Even I know it's off the last. Even the last 9, he's been brilliant.
Yeah, really, really bizarre, really bizarre. But again, just for clarity, there they are. That is the panel's picks. And Yamila Hanley, I mean, come on, do me a favour. Look, Yamila, he's had some brilliant games this season. Probably the best one was against FC. I thought it was exceptional at the LSV against FC. But come on, do me a favour. Brad O'Neill, I'm not filthy over that. I think Brad's been playing well. Do I think he's the top? Do I believe he's a top 5 player rounds 10 to 18? Does anybody in the chat believe that Brad O'Neill is a top 5 player in the last 9 rounds? Top 5?
No.
Just put that out there.
He's in the top 15, I'd say, but he's not in the top 5.
Well, Craig Forth saying there, they're picking it for people that they played for, which I think there is a look. Leeds are. I've got no issue with Leeds players being in there. They are at the moment, and they have been.
They should be dominating.
Correct. I've got no issue with that. And they are the right players. I think Brodie Croft's a great case in point. We'd all argue for Ash Hanley. He's been exceptional all season. Connor, hard to argue. Top assister, kicking well. Hard to, there really are quality players in there. Absolutely. Sevo scoring the tries.
Yeah.
No issue with that. I've got no issue with that at all. But when you start talking Yamila Hanley, who, don't get me wrong, Yamila, when he's been playing, has played well. A couple of games he had to get back to fitness. I think Warrington, he was a bit off. I think that was before.
He got injured.
Games 1 to 9, but he was a bit off before he went off. But in the games where he sparkled, by God, has he sparkled, and he's proved what a great player that he is. And nobody's arguing that. But then even Paul Sculthorpe at one point started to argue that they don't need to, it doesn't matter how many games they play, it's how good they play when they play. Oh, come on. There's got to be a caveat. I mean, we here at Super League Raw, we have a benchmark when it comes to Team of the Year that you must play 20 games. You must play 20 games. This is about consistency over a 27-round comp. And for me, you've got to set a bar somewhere. And for me, 20 games is the bar. That's the bar. And after that, you're in. To say there's no bar, again, scratching my head. And look, these are legends of the game. I'm not. Look, what they did on the pitch is fantastic, but this process as a rugby league fan is flawed. It's just horrible. It really is.
Just to caveat something, Dave, in the chat.
Go for it.
Saying Brad O'Neill's been playing awesome. I've just placed him in the top 15 in the comp at the moment. That's playing awesome. I don't think any of us are saying Brad O'Neill's not played awesome. He has. He's not in the top 5 players in the comp.
No. Well, look, I'm not saying the Super League Raw Trophy is foolproof, and it's not. And it is changing, and it has changed a lot since round 9. Certain players have started to come down the table because they started off the season so well. Wonga Blake being one of those. He's still on our top 10, but he's coming down the table. That's what's happening. The way we do it, we do a 3-2-1 like the Goldthorpe. We then do an extra point if you're in Team of the Week. We do 2 points extra if you're in Team of the Month, and you get 3 points if you're Player of the Round. That's how we do it. And even that's not foolproof, but at least it's a game by game. It's about consistency. That's what it's all about. This is where we're currently at. And again, there'll be certain names in there where people are going, really? Well, this is how ours is turning out at the moment. Top of the table is Ollie Ashelbott. 30 points he has scored this season. Now, to caveat that, he's had 5 man of the match displays for Toulouse, so he does get a bit of an advantage there. When Toulouse play well, it tends to be Ashelbott that fires him. But again, in the discussion of Man of Steel, well, the whole of the Toulouse team is set up for Ollie Ashelbott, so it's unfair. No, that's called good coaching and actually making sure that your star players getting a lot of the ball. And that was said as well. And you're going, really? What is going on here? He's been in 4 Team of the Weeks. He's also been in 3 Team of the Months. So that's why he's got up to 30 points. Behind him, as you can see there, Jake Connor, 3 man of the match performances, 5 Team of the Weeks and 1 Team of the Month. He's also been Player of the Month for June. Underneath him is Brodie Croft. So look, Brodie Croft on 23. Again, 3 man of the match awards, 5 Team of the Weeks, 2 Team of the Months. Then you've got Mikey Lewis. Not been in a Team of the Month. He's had 5 man of the match awards. So again, this is the thing about Mikey. I think we've been balanced with Mikey tonight. When KR played well this year, Mikey's been a big reason why. 5 man of the match. That's worth 15 points. That's 3 points a game. He's then only amassed another 6. So that tells you a lot about, when KR are playing well, it's Mikey Lewis that's got a hand in that. Then Ash Hanley, who's rose up that table during rounds 10 to 18. Jay Fields having a very consistent year. Wonga Blake's dropping. Of course, got the player of the month of March, so that got him an extra 3 points. He's started to drop now. Harry Smith, he's coming up. I don't think nobody would argue with that. Maker Sevo, don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Kais Fiatilli and Jake Truman is also falling. Underneath them, just underneath them, are Mike McMeekin, Caleb Hamlin-Uele, Tyrone May, Joe Mellor, and Junior Insemba. They are coming up on the rail. Now, I'm not saying that is foolproof, Greg, but for me, if they're talking a top 10, and people have the view on Blake, and Blake is falling. But if they had a top 10 that was Ollie Ashelbot, Jake Connor, Brodie Croft, Mikey Lewis, Ash Handler, Jay Field, Harry Smith, Maker Sevo, Kais Fiatilli, Jake Truman, and Caleb Hamlin-Uele in that 10, I don't think we're having a discussion. I think we're all sitting here going, yeah, I can see where that is. But when you start to see players who are who are going off the boil, Handler shouldn't even be anywhere near it. Clark for his attitude. Even O'Neill isn't in our top 10 currently, albeit he's rising up the table as well because his form has improved dramatically. We're not having that discussion over the Man of Steel panel, are we?
No. And I kind of lost the will to live when they tried to give an explanation of why no Wakefield players were in their choices. I just again, can't speak over that one. I just lost the will to live with it and turned it off. But yeah, I'm not just saying this because it's you, Dave, but you put a lot of hard work into this week in, week out, gathering statistics like this. And I think that's a lot fairer than just 5 ex-pros who are tied to Wigan and Saints picking who they think the Man of Steel should be. It just makes no sense to me at all. I just think it's a pointless exercise.
And Leeds. I mean, again, Ellery was talking about Lockie Miller's form last season. What's that got to do with this year? Honestly, it's bonkers. Yeah. Honestly, and those who've watched it, you must have come away like me going, I mean, Ellery Hanley, what a player. What a player. 3-time Man of Steel. But by God, wow. I mean, that has been interesting watching it. It really has. And again, he's giving his honest opinion, and I'm entitled to question that opinion. I'm not having to go at Ellery Hanley, the man. I'm having to go at what's going on in terms of these picks. It's just, I don't think any rugby league fan out there is looking at that going, it's just bonkers. It's bonkers. But anyway,
the difference is, Dave,
go on, mate.
I think so. It's a point I'm going to make, and I don't know whether it's fact or not, but I would hazard a guess that Ellery Hanley hasn't watched every single game of Super League this season. And I think that's the difference between, not to blow smoke your backside by any means, but I know you do it, and you like me. I watch pretty much every single game, and I know Reggie does as well.
Yeah.
And I think this is the difference, and I might be wrong on that, but from what you're saying, it sounds to me like they're not watching Toulouse v York.
No.
They're not watching these other games.
And what I would say, it's all about knowing your topic, isn't it? Let's put that out there. I do watch every game, and people might say you can't possibly. Actually, I do. Throughout the week, I watch the live games, and then when it's dual, I'll either stay up or I'll get up early in the morning and watch the other. And it's surprising. And just for people who are thinking, God, you can't possibly watch 2 hours of all these 2 hours games. When you actually forward wind conversions, when you forward wind how much time it takes to form the pack, most games are about 55 minutes long. It's not that big an undertaking. As long as if you was to sit there and watch it all the captain's chat. I'm not interested in the captain's chat. Just tell me, is it conclusive or inconclusive? Because 9 times out of 10, us rugby league fans can tell on the first viewing what it's going to be. So I don't need to watch the 2 minutes that takes. So I just forward wind the rest, and I do genuinely watch every game, and that's why I think I deserve to have an opinion on the games. Just saying. Anyway, we move on. We move on at a pace because I can see that the time is ticking, and we've still got to do this. Banging or hanging? Yeah, banging or hanging. Let's get into this one straight off the bat. It's been a good chat tonight, boys. Really, really enjoying this one, I have to say. Before we start the real topics of hanging and banging, I just want to go back to KR for May. Jack Charles. There's a lot of talk over Jack Charles maybe going up against his former club, against FC. I'm going to put it to you, Reggie. There's a part of me that thinks he's going to put Morgan at 6 and put Broadbent at 1. And if he does, again, going back to this tired narrative, you brought Jack Charles in. He's an out-and-out halfback. I think you've got to play him. there comes a point where you've got to play him. But I think he's going to go more in the halves, and he's going to put Broadbent at fullback. What's your thoughts, mate?
For the same reason as I said about Jez Litton not being stood down for this game. I think if it's not a Hull derby, I think he may well be tempted to give the lad a go. But I think you're right, Dave. I think Broadbent will go to fullback, Morg will go in the halves. And I think Litton will be there in some form, whether coming off the bench or whether starting, and Lawton coming off the bench. I don't think he's going to risk playing Charles in the Hull derby.
And if he doesn't, Steph, is that hanging or banging for you?
I think it's pretty hanging because of that. We've seen the likes of Warrington, with you and Irwin this year, putting faith in him. We saw it with Campbell the weekend with St. Helens. What's the point in him being there if you're not going to play him?
Same with Bill Leyland.
The whole point is next man up mentality, isn't it? And the lads need opportunities when you've got a player banned or injured. That's their chance to come in, and they either shine or they don't. It's the way it goes, isn't it? But you've got to if you're in a first team squad and your squad number's below 30, then you're going to be pretty miffed if the next man above you is out and you don't get your opportunity. So I've heard people say about salary cap issues with playing him. I don't know how true that is or not. That could be could be a factor, but I don't know how he's in because if he's in the first team squad, you count salary cap.
Yeah,
you can't be in a squad and your squad is your salary cap. So you can't be exempt just because you're playing in the reserves.
No. Well, I know that the likes of they brought Flynn Holden in. I understand that he's coming halfway through the season, so I can understand him not being on the salary cap. I get that, but I think what we're seeing here, and I will level this. KR are trying to develop an academy, but look, the bottom line is this, guys. Right, the bottom line is this. You look at the weekend that's just gone. We put it on the graphic today. Lockie Webster. Now, there might be some people who were surprised Lockie Webster weren't in Team of the Week. He was in the official Super League Team of the Week. He made 5 errors, for God's sake. He had a good game, but he made 5 errors. You look at Jack Wellesby, he was flawless. He was flawless for Saints. When people always say, you're biased. I'm not biased. Lockie Webster was in the Super League Team of the Week. Jack Wellesby was flawless against Catalan. Deserved to be in Team of the Week. But Lockie Webster had a good game. He had a good game. Young lad. You look at the young lad at Saints who came in, Campbell. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Given his opportunity. And people will say he only got it because of injury. Doesn't matter. Paul Rowley still put faith in him. He put it in. Lawford at Wakefield. Lawford was put in this week. Didn't let Wakefield down. You look at O'Connor at Wigan, who's come from nowhere. He looks a right player. You can put Taylor Kerr into that category. So what's going on at KR? You've got the likes of Bill Leyland, who's proved this season he can do a job. You've got these players, the likes of Jack Charles, who deserves an opportunity in the game. I'm with you, Steph. There comes a point where you've got to go, it's hanging. Your team looks tired. You've got to give these lads a go. And, we've been really balanced on KR tonight, and I don't think any other podcast has been as balanced. I think a lot of people have really criticised them without any real topping up with suggestions and what might be going on. I think we've tried to be really balanced with him. But I think Willie Peters, and look, this is not disparaging to FC. FC is coming into a bit of form. But let's not forget where they sit in the table. If you're not going to give these players a game against FC, you're certainly not against Leeds. Now's the time to test them out. You're seeing Warrington, Wigan, Saints testing their players out against real fierce opposition. So what's stopping KR from doing the same? I'll leave it there.
Lee did it. Lee did it against FC at the weekend. They had Brogan starting as prop.
Correct.
They had Brown playing as well. So with the 2 forwards, they stepped up and they were the starting props. So
spot on. You've got to give. You've got, especially when look, they did look tired. I was so I'm disappointed for KR fans in the fact that it just didn't feel right the weekend. They did look tired. I think there's a multitude of reasons there at the moment. And if you're not going to freshen it up now, because by freshening it up, 1, you're giving legs, and 2, you're saying to players, look, don't take it for granted, boys. And that's not a bad thing. It's not. And if those players can't take that, good luck the new coach. Good luck coach, because you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror at times and saying, I'm not playing well enough and I need to get my game sorted. Luckily for Mikey, he's got a period now where he can go and do that. And I think he will come back better. I've already sent my piece on that, but I think there's other players as well.
Powell's doing that with Jemmett, isn't it? You know, he said to him, you've got to go to reserve, and you know, because you've got Rourke playing really well. I know Rourke's a bit more of a senior player, but that's what you need in a squad to be on the edge. And you know, if you're not playing well, you're out. You know, there's next man up. So they need to play these lads.
Hey, Neil Rennox is with us. It's been a while since I've seen Neil. He's saying, obviously, disappointed with all fires. By all accounts, Martin are firing back 10. I listened to a little bit of it, but he basically says he only watches his Wigan and Leeds. So, greatest respect. If you only watch two teams.
There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't get to have an opinion on the teams you don't watch. I
agree, 100%. Right, let's go to this one, Reggie. Catalan Dragons. Now, look, this was, I know Lauren in Tackle Talk's not happy about this, but we've got to discuss it, mate. Amir Burra for Solomona for Tarpe to FC. Now, I had to check this, wasn't April Fool's. If you had Amir Burra, and I don't think Amir Burra is a bad player, quite frankly. I think he's got his qualities, I'll be very, very honest. But if I'm all FC and I can get Solomona for Tarpe for Amir Burra, have I just won the lottery?
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly have. Didn't Borough have quite a big ban early this season? I mean, that's by the by. Yeah, I mean, absolutely banging for Hull. Wow, what a deal that is! What a deal that is!
What's John Carter? I mean, I know John's come from Hull FC, but really, I mean, I'd love to know what he's seen there, because for me, for Tarpe this season. I mean, you know, going back to Ellery's comments, you put Tarpe in another team. Wow. I mean...
Yeah, it's a strange one.
So let's do this both ways. Hull FC, banging or hanging?
Banging.
Catalans Dragons, banging or hanging?
Hanging.
No disrespect. No disrespect to Amir Burra. I think he's got a bit of... I do think Amir Burra is not the enemy as a hooker, but... Wow is all I'm saying on that. Now then, Steph, you like me. I don't know if it was 24 hours ago. It might have been 48 hours ago. I can't remember. I really can't remember. But by God, was he excited. It was all over social media. All over it. Casper Tigers were going to make an announcement. It was going to be a big one. Our fans are shirt number 14. I mean, wow, just simply wow. I mean, you know, you're waiting for the big signing. You're waiting for some massive news as a neutral that Castleford have done it again. They brought in another massive player from the NRL or something. I mean, look, even Ryan Carr's thinking, what am I doing holding this shirt? Wow. Was that banging or hanging as an announcement goes?
Well, I mean, I've been on the receiving end of this as many a times as a Leaf fan with a exclusive announcement 6 p.m. and we've got a new shirt sponsor or something like that. So you know, it's one of them. But I mean, fair play to Cass. Their announcements recently have been spectacular, haven't they? You know, with Sloan and a few others, and so I think the board are entitled to make a thing. I mean, I find it really cringy, if I'm being honest. Our fans, it's like, we love you, you know. You know, we're gonna have had it for ages, haven't they? Then the worst when the team announcer does it. In 18 and the Wigan fans, like, oh God, embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. You know, give them a wall.
Are they going to give all the season tickets a free shirt with 14 on the back next season?
I know.
Well, that'll be different, wouldn't it? But speaking of which, I have to say, have we ever seen memberships launch so early?
You know, yeah.
Wow.
Listen, right?
Is this season over? Is this season already over?
Well, it is for Cass, isn't it? You know, they're not making the playoffs, are they? And I think they're playing for, you know, 8th, 9th, maybe. But fair play to them. You know, they're being proactive. They've done a lot of good things at Cass.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
well, Billy. Just on that though, Steph. Billy Ingram.
Exactly. That's the point. I was just going to say, Billy done a great video with his tour around the grounds, and fair play to Castleford. You know, they're working with what they can, but they're also improving what they can. And you can't knock a club for trying to make themselves better. And it's like I said earlier in the show, that ground packed out was phenomenal. They've got the new training facility there, the 4G. They've got the fan zone. The food looks really good thanks to Billy's video for that one. So you can't knock, and Casa, one of the clubs at the moment are really, they are saying our eggs are in our basket for next season. They are saying that. And they've made some phenomenal signings. They're getting rid of players they don't want. Ryan Carr's putting his stamp on it. But don't do our fans rubbish.
Yeah. So you're going back. You're going hanging then, yeah.
Oh, it's embarrassing. It's not hanging.
And do you know what I mean? Craig in the chat saying, I don't all teams call their fans 18th man. No, they just call them supporters. I mean, look, the bottom line is, right, what we know about rugby league players is they go around at the end of the game and shake all the fans by the hand. They do autographs. That's showing the fans the respect. I mean, for me, like I say, Casford are doing so much right, and I just wanted to put it in there for comedy value because, like I say, I saw it and I thought, oh, what's going on at Cass at 6, and then team shirt number 14.
Just to answer Craig's question, no, they don't all call the things the 18th man. That's just the pieters.
Yeah, that's supporters. Yeah, but anyway, and like I say, the respect element is what the players do. They're absolutely phenomenal. Right, Reggie, coming back to you. Rumour has it, I've not seen any official announcement, but I think this is good business. Ollie Leyland looks like he's going to Huddersfield Giants.
It's fantastic, yeah. Absolutely banging for Ollie, banging for the Giants. He clearly fell out of favour with Warrington after Vegas. Obviously, he's had his injury problems as well. And so I think that's a good deal for both parties. Sad to see him leave, but if he gets the chance to play first team rugby and get minutes under his belt, I think he's a talented player.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. Lee Leopards, Steph, 14 scholars all over social media have signed for the club in the last 24 hours. That must make you feel very happy indeed.
Yeah, absolutely, and great to see it's from a wide range of clubs as well.
Yeah.
Near and far, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, it's great. The scholarship team this year have done really well, and part of this is why elite licenses and stuff like that are given to Super League clubs, and why it's so important, because we go on, there's not enough players in Super League or whatever. The more clubs with elite academies, the better. The problem with promotion and relegation is York can't set up an elite academy because next minute they're relegated and they can't afford one. So this is why clubs need, and Lee have been lucky, I'd say. They've made a lot of their own luck as well to not go down that first season and be able to build on that. And now we can, start to throw money into this. And it's the only way Lee are going to be a consistently good side. What we do know with Lee is the catchment area's amazing. The clubs and what they produce, the amateur clubs around the Lee area are producing some amazing talent. They're playing in Super League at the moment. Lee needs to now keep them. And this is the first part of doing that.
Well, the thing is, you're attracting them, and that's half the battle. And, I had to giggle. There's other clubs that are getting a bit upset now because they're not getting the lion's share anymore. But hey ho, that's life, isn't it? That's what goes around, comes around, as they say. You've got to be attractive, an attractive proposition. That's what it's all about. And clearly, Lee are doing a decent job with regards to that. I appreciate people saying that Ollie Leyland has been playing reserve. It's not been officially announced, but I get your point. It would appear that Ollie Leyland is more than likely destination Huddersfield, and we wish him well. If he can replicate his form for London, they picked up a good player. Speaking of players leaving Warrington, Max Wood off to FC. Again, this will disappoint you, I think, Reggie. Banging, I think, for FC. Played really well for him. He was actually in a team in a week when he played for Hull FC. Good for Max as well in terms of getting some regular rugby league. Your thoughts on this one, mate?
It's banging for Max, banging for Hull. If he gets the minutes under his belt and he gets to full fitness and he irons out the things that Sam and his team need for him to improve in his game, whatever they may be, then hopefully that will be banging for wire in the long term. A lot of time for Max Wood. I think he's got a big future in the game. When I've watched him play for Warrington, he's made a couple of errors, don't they all? But he's
also made some blinding runs as well.
He makes yards after contact. He scores tries. He's very direct, and as I've said in the past, he reminds me of a player called Roland Phillips that we had in our books 30 odd years ago. So yeah, Roland Phillips.
Remember him well.
Yeah,
At the time, a cult hero, very Kais Tilly like in terms of cult hero.
Yes.
At Fletcher Street back in the day at Warrington. Just as a quick, just because we can, there's still talk about 18th man supporters in the chat. So I'm just going to put this out there. As a supporter, what matters more to you? A shirt that says 18th man, or the players coming round the pitch at the end of the game to shake you by the hand and to sign an autograph? Which means more? Which means more?
How many shirts get printed with 18th man on?
Probably one. Anyway, moving swiftly on, and we all know where that is. Good evening, Mr. Fourth. Anyway, let's go to Toulouse. 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 Jake, do you know what? Toulouse, Steph, they've done it again. Jake Shorrock's extending until 2028 this week. It's a long line of, again, another player that's playing really good rugby league. That's Ashel Bott, that's Machuja's son. Now it's Shorrock. Brendan Hans has also done so. Yeah. They are absolutely just, again, not getting the press it deserves, but you've got to give Sylvain Hules a lot of credit here. He really is keeping the crown jewels, isn't he?
Yeah, and I've been really impressed with Shorrock. He's an ex-Wigan player, isn't he? Didn't he play for Wigan, Shorrock?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'm sure he is.
I think he might have came from their village. Can't remember. Did he get a debut though, or was it academy side?
I'm sure he's played for Wigan. I might be wrong. I've been known to be wrong in the past.
That's a great quiz question. Come on, Mr. Fourth. Come on, carry on, mate.
But yeah, I think he's been really, really, really good this year for them. He's a player that they can build around. And like you say, I think when they've tied up hands, got Ollie Ashell bought, then I'm really excited for the next recruitment cycle for Toulouse to complement these players. They're keeping hold of the good ones, and I'm sure they're going to add some good ones to it.
Yes, he did play. Yes, well done, Reggie. He did play. Well done, Reggie. Yeah, well done, Reggie. Yeah, well done. Well done, Steph. Yeah,
credit for my great knowledge.
Do you know what? Fair play. I'm guessing that must have been at least 10 years ago. Greg?
Academy, I think. Academy and reserves. He's from Wigan as well.
He must have played first team though, if he's coming up on his Wikipedia. So he must have played first team. I'm going to have a guess. 10 years. 10 years ago.
He played first team.
Got to be 10 years ago. That I'm really, really like scratching my head here, but I'm going to go 10 years ago, minimum. Must have been.
20. Must have been. You're right. Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, 2050, yeah, no. Fair play. Fair play. But no, good shout, boys. Like I say, vaguely, I wasn't confident to say yeah, but well done. Well done, lads. Especially you, Steph. You called it.
Just use Google.
Well, yeah, but fair play to him. Mark Sneed off to Salford.
I was just backing you up, mate. I was just backing you up.
Thank you. Thanks, Reggie. Thank you.
Mark Sneed off to Salford, Reg.
Banging for Mark Sneed. I think he might have been worried that his career might have been over. He's clearly got history with Salford. He loved playing for them. He clearly hasn't got a future at Warrington. That's been made quite clear by moving him on to Salford.
But that's harsh because his contract was 18 months, so he's going to fulfil the contract.
Well, he's going at the end of this season, isn't he? But
exactly.
unless his injuries to Hayes, Irwin, then I can't see him forcing his way back in.
No.
It gives him a lifeline for next season, something to work towards, look forward to. Extends what has been a very, very good career.
Banging for Salford. He'll bring a lot of experience and they'll probably end up on the coaching staff. And it's the rightful home for Mark Steed as well. It's great going back there. And I think that the tribute that he's had from Ryan Briley pretty much cements that. And then finally, it's not really for me, to talk about waffle posts and perhaps maybe AI generated help. Wouldn't be right for me to comment on things like that, would it? So I'm going to go to you instead, Steph. The Hull FC statement this week, apologising to the fans and getting the violin out, hanging a bang. Got to be brief. Time's ticking. Hanging a banging.
It's probably both for me. We complain when clubs don't communicate with the fans at all. Then we complain when they do. It was a bit waffly, like you say. It wasn't. it wasn't the best statement that's ever been written, was it? But the thing is, the Hull FC fans are coming anyway, aren't they? You know, they're again highest attendance of the round this week. They still
Credit
turn
to
up
'em.
week in, week out. You
Credit to
know,
'em.
I think you could have done that in a paragraph, so it was hanging in that respect.
Yeah, I must admit. I tell you what, though, I felt asleep so well. I mean, it really was a tonic. It really was. Richie, if I was Richie, I'd be a bit worried though. Whenever anything like that happens and people start to get the faith, it's he should be all right though. He should be all right. Yeah. There you go. Let's take a quick look at the league table. And do you know what? This bottom half of the table, we've got a belter coming this weekend. Of course, we'll give it the full captain's run treatment on Thursday. But Reggie, going to you on this one. What a game we've got in France. What a game. Toulouse Olympic could potentially overtake the Catalans Dragons. Will you be tuning in, sir?
I will certainly be doing my best to tune in. Yeah, looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a lot of time for Toulouse. They were written off, and quite possibly by me at the start of the season. I did think they'd finish bottom, but they've grown into a really good side. As we've spoke before, they've got 4 or 5 really outstanding players that are really starting to bring the rest of the team on now. So yeah, and Catalan will be looking to bounce back. So yeah, really looking forward to this game.
Fantastic. And of course, the top half of the table, of course, they are Hull KR outside of the 7. Some outstanding games this weekend. Of course, Wigan taking on the Saints. Absolutely brilliant. Leeds will want to bounce back. Like I say, full captain's run treatment on this. And of course, Warrington taking on the Lee Leopards. Some absolute belters here. Let's just hope that, I think we'd all hope that, with the exception of Wigan Saints, that doesn't fall into this bracket, Steph, that this is a better showing of rivals round than what we got at Magic in terms of competitiveness.
Yeah, and I think it will be. I think there's some real tasty games here. I think injuries are playing the part now at this stage in the season. Sometimes being a leveler for some teams. So I'm fully expecting a really good rivals round, and attendances should be really high as well. For this round, which is, as a collective, is the most important thing, isn't it? We all want to see the good games and high attendances for rival round, and I think we're going to get that this week. What a show!
What a show. I think we've done really well there, boys. And I go back to what we said on Mikey. I think we handled that with respect. And I think we all, I think we all, even the community in the chat as well, did that very respectfully. We really do hope that Mikey gets the help that he deserves as a human being, first and foremost. And for those people out there that are just trading off stuff, keep it rugby league. No need for it. Absolutely no need for it. Yes, hold him to account for his on-field performances, but anything outside, leave that to the club, leave that to the professionals. It's the right and appropriate thing to do. The social, that's coming, the after party, that is going to be posted in a moment on the WhatsApp group for the members. You can carry on this debate into the night if you wish. And an announcement, always changing things here at Super League Raw. A brand new feature coming for the members. Very, very mindful that on a Friday, people are ready for the live action on a Friday night. Those people who watch at home, the WhatsApp chat is always vibrant on a Friday night. So from 7 till 7:30 every Friday, there will be a pre-game build-up that you can enjoy with your fellow community. That is coming from this week. The Friday pre-game community build-up, we'll give it a name, but that'll happen this Friday, so keep your eyes out for that.
There's a ring to it, that.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. We'll give it a name, but basically you members, you can get together on a Friday from 7 o'clock when you get in from work, right up to 7:30 and the Sky production started, to talk about the Friday night games and everything that's going on in Super League. So that'll be something for you to look forward to. Keep your eye out in the chat now. I'll post the social link if you haven't already got it. It'll be in the announcements section, and we hope that you enjoy your chat after the show. From all of us, we hope you've enjoyed Super League Raw Weekly. You can't beat a bit of weekly, can you, on a Tuesday night? Tell all your friends about us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will be back next week live 8 p.m. for more Super League Raw Weekly. Bye for now.